Hello and welcome, it's Francis here. Thank you for coming back to my channel. If this is your first time here, I bid thee welcome. There is a subscribe button below if you would like to help support this channel by subscribing. Also a bell to be notified as to when I upload more content. I'm coming to you from Ghana country, and as such I acknowledge the Ghana people of the Adelaide Plains as being the traditional custodians of the land upon which I reside. So in this video, I want to be talking about the full moon that we have coming up on Friday, the 14th of March. It may be the 13th, depending on where you are in the world, but here in Adelaide, South Australia, it'll be taking place at 5:24 p.m. Australian Central Daylight Time on Friday, the 14th. It will be in the astrological sign of Virgo at 23 degrees 56 minutes. So we'll round that up to 24 degrees. And it will also be a lunar eclipse. Now, this lunar eclipse is said to be a total lunar eclipse. However, here in Adelaide, it'll be what is known as a penumbral eclipse, meaning that the moon will only be moving through the outer part of the Earth's shadow, the penumbra. And as such, this eclipse will not be as dramatic as other types of eclipses. And that's from the Adelaide point of view. It may be completely different as to where you are in the world. So when we have a full moon, this means that the moon and the sun are directly opposite each other. So the sun is at 23 degrees 56 minutes or 24 degrees of Pisces, shining all its light onto Lady Luna, exposing what has been hidden in the shadows, enabling things to rise to a conscious awareness, especially things that are needing to come to an end or need to be concluded, because this is what a full moon is all about. It's all about endings, the culmination of something, of letting go, of releasing. And Virgo is also about looking into the detail of things. So there could be something that's being illuminated in areas of your life where corrections or improvements need to also be worked on. So in order to gain a little bit more insight as to what this may mean to you on a more personal level, if you've got your copy of your natal chart or your birth chart, have a look to see what houses both 24 degrees of Virgo, which is the moon, and the same degree point, 24 degrees of Pisces, which is the sun, is located in. And also if you have any planets or points there, as these can also come into play. And this is because the full moon lunar eclipse will be bringing your attention to these endings in your life and these particular areas. The moon, as we've mentioned, is all about endings, the culmination of things. However, it's also almost in exact conjunction with the South Node. And the South Node relates to our karmic past. It's a release point. It's things we're moving away from. And this is where we have eclipses, is because the moon is on these points and it's only ecliptic around the Earth, which is the nodal points, and these nodal points are the closest points to the Earth on its ecliptic. So the South Node is actually 27 degrees 23 minutes of Virgo. And this also means that the sun at the other end of the scale is at an almost direct conjunction with the North Node. The North Node is at 27 degrees 23 minutes of Pisces. And the North Node is about our future direction. But what's important to sort of keep in mind is that Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. And as I mentioned in the new moon video, we also have what's called a stellium of planets and points in Pisces. So stellium is, I think, more than three or more planets or points. And we have 4 planets and points in Pisces. We have Saturn, we have the Sun, we have the North Node, and we also have Neptune, all in Pisces, all adding this energy of endings, of clearing out, especially in their energetic field. And as such, you could already be feeling that there are things that may need to be cleared out of your life, especially your energetic field at the moment, or a desire to move these energies away from you that no longer serving you. And what's really interesting is that because the moon is very fast moving in our sky, is that a few hours after the full moon actually takes place, the moon will be in direct conjunction with the South Node. And according to Molly McLeod, which is one of the astrologers that I follow, I'm not an astrologer myself, but I do follow certain astrologers when I put these reports together. So check out the link to what she says below. Molly talks about this conjunction between the South Node and the moon, bringing a realization that something is not working in our lives in that particular area, and we're really sensing it. And it may actually have something to do with the seeds that we planted back in September last year when there was a new moon in Virgo, especially if you're into manifestation. If you can think back to September last year, the new moon, what did you plant? Because now is the time where it should be coming to fruition. And with this sort of South Node lunar eclipse, it's saying something has not sort of revealed itself in a way that we wanted to do. So with the Virgo influence, it's bringing in a sense of awareness, observance, of connection, of areas where we need to sort of do that final twigging. Virgo also connects in with the body in particular. So it's all about the sort of connection between the intellect and the body, the physical and the mental realms. And then when we add the eclipse energy, there is this focus, as I said, on something not working. The moon is giving you an understanding of possibly how to correct it, what needs to be twigged for the fine improving it, or there might actually be the change, because Virgo, as I said, is down to the minute details. Also quoting Molly McCord, opposite the moon, because the moon's basically on its own, is Team Pisces, the stellium in Pisces. Now the sun has passed Saturn. Saturn is at 22 degrees 90 minutes of Pisces. And the sun is moving into, as we've just said, a conjunction with the North Node. And after that, it will be coming into conjunction, excuse me, with Neptune. Now, Neptune is at the final degrees of Pisces. Neptune is 29 degrees 23 minutes of Pisces, so right at the anaretic point. And what is really interesting is the day after the solar eclipse, which is the 29th of March, Neptune will move into Aries. Now, when a planet or planet in particular is at the anaretic degree, it's sort of like the shadowy aspects are coming up. There's also a real sensation of possibly being in a void, in a vacuum, even being in limbo between the worlds, so to speak, where you're not able to sort of find your footing because foundations are crumbling. And this is sort of another reason, I've been saying this for months now, to breathe. We're going through lots of changes with SEMA, lots of changes are happening. There's changes internally as well. This is all about releasing things that no longer serve us. It's coming up into our forefront, into our awareness, and we need to surrender to the divine and let go. Things are out of our control. So instead of hanging on, and this is where we can get ourselves worked up, overwhelmed, into anxiety, even depression, so heightening that, is when we sort of hang on to the past. We really need to now trust in our guides, our higher powers of the cosmos, our higher self, whatever you believe in or not, and lean into the ebb and flow of change. We're on that roller coaster ride now. It's not going to stop. We also need to feel the endings that are taking place as we move through these stages of transformation. And when we sort of allow ourselves to let go, we basically bring in more space to allow this transformation to occur, enabling the new to be birthed, to come into our lives. This is why it's important not to keep hanging on to let things go. And this journey with the sun through these planets and points relate to the sun bringing into our conscious awareness areas that we need to be making changes in our lives. So there are things that is taking place, in particular in our energy fields or deep in our subconscious, because Pisces is all about our subconscious. And with this connection with the moon, while we may not be physically seeing them, we are certainly feeling them. We are sensing them, leaning into their energetics. And it's, as I said, it's a time for trust, trusting our own intuitive energies. Stop relying so much on external people, come back to us and trust our sense, our point of reference, so to speak. Something may be highlighting that is not the result of an outcome that we had been anticipating on. So with the Virgo aspect of this moon, what needs to be changed in order for us to get the results that we desire? Virgo too could also be highlighting any areas within our own selves that we are actually undertaking self-sabotage. And this could be why we're not achieving our goals. Virgo is about taking responsibility for what is the part that we play in the wider scheme of things. Yes, things may not be working out to our ideal, but what was the role that we played, and we need to own it. Added to this is Saturn's influence, especially on this Piscean sun, because Saturn's sort of saying it's time to face the music. Again, as I said, take responsibility for our actions or even inaction, especially if we've been sitting on the fence too long, not getting involved. It is saying, well, not being involved, not getting involved is just as, I was going to say bad, but it's not. It's just the energetics. It's like we have responsibility whether we act on something or we don't. Our inaction could actually add to the desired outcome as much as our own action, especially if it's an outcome that we weren't anticipating. And even if all the cards are not on the table originally, that the outcome has changed, and it can be uncomfortable, making you feel uncomfortable, but Saturn is sort of bringing in this reality check as to how we are living our lives, especially at this particular point in time. And with Pisces, there's always an element of the hidden uncertainty, almost a hidden agenda in the chaos that's occurring, that's beginning to come up to light. So if you are feeling overwhelmed, it is also a timely reminder, because we're bringing Virgo back into it, check onto your physical health, your physical well-being. Also, your mental and emotional health. It is a time to get real, to be honest, especially with yourself. And in doing that, once you become honest and have all the cards on the table, taking responsibility, you can then make those important changes in your life, especially in areas where you have been dragging your feet around. Not taking any action, just running around with your eyes closed, putting things in the too hard basket. Now it's like that too hard basket is there in front of us. We're seeing the results of putting everything in that too hard basket. We now need to start addressing these things. What is interesting with the sun being at the North Node is that, and also the North Node being in the last few degrees of Pisces, the North Nodes do move in a different direction backwards around the chart, is that the last time the North Node was here was back in the second half of 2006. So if you are able to, can you think back to what happened, what was happening in your life back then? And this could, again, shine some light as to what you're going through now, because there's a bit of an echo, a repeat of what happened back in 2006 coming around again, giving you another opportunity to sort of like see how far you have grown, seeing how you can handle the situation in a different way, coming down to those minute details of Virgo. Now, a transit that's sort of been impacting on this full moon is Mercury. Mercury is at 9 degrees 31 minutes of Aries, and it is stationing retrograde the day after the eclipse. So it's really slowing down now, or it has slowed down, and it will be actually retrograde from the 15th of March, and it slowed down in order to change direction. And when it does this, it will be conjunct to Venus, which is at 7 degrees 44 minutes of Aries. And Venus is also in retrograde. So there is sort of a reminder, sort of like a heads up, to take note of the self-talk that happens, being kind to yourself, because you could be receiving an insight or an awareness of where you can improve and do better in your life, or do something in a different way. So don't say that, all the criticism that you're silly, you should have done it this way. This is like bringing, it's the acknowledgement that, okay, this has not worked and the outcome is not what I desired, but now this is what I should do. So now it's time to sort of move forward. Again, it is time to be honest with yourself, especially regarding what you need to improve or change in your life, and not to beat yourself up about it. There may also be the realization that someone else is not who you originally thought they would be. So there could be a feeling of disappointment descending, especially with this realization that maybe you've been sort of like gullible or been deluded, taken for a ride in some way. That maybe you should have checked things out a little bit more thoroughly, in particular to people. So again, we've got the Saturn reality check happening because you're not seeing a situation or a person accurately. And now that realization is on board. Another astrologer that I follow, Pam Gregory, also asks the question, what are you yearning for? Because especially as Neptune is in these final degrees of Pisces, it's time to sort of truly decide what you would like your life to look like, what you would like to sort of bring in, especially as Neptune is about to tip into Aries, and then things would really start taking off. So are you wanting a new relationship or new friendships, a new career, house, better house, travel? What are your big dreams? Once we do that clearing out, we are making space for the new to come into. It's also a perfect time, as Pam says, to tap into the unlimited source, that sort of higher power or source of the cosmos, opening ourselves up to be more consciously aware to the sense of divinity, however it appears to you. And this is sort of heightened because with both Venus and Mercury coming into their retrograde, there could be a rethinking of relationships, of friendships, even our own relationships with our siblings. And relationships don't necessarily mean intimate relationships either. It could be our relationship with our co-workers. It could be our relationship with finances, because this is what Venus also rules over. And we do have a little bit of support coming in because the moon, whatever happens with this Virgo moon, is supported with Uranus, which is at 24 degrees 2 minutes of Taurus, which also means that Uranus is in sextile not only with the Sun, but also the North Node, Saturn, and Neptune for a longer term, because the North Node, Saturn, and Neptune are very slow-moving planets. So we're going to have this Uranus in this conjunction that will be supporting these energies for a long time. However, this lunar eclipse, there will be sort of a fast moving element to this revelational energy of Uranus coming up, especially if it's sort of offering us fast moving changes and development, sort of a solution as to how to correct or even counterbalance a situation that is now being revealed. It can also help relieve any stress that we may feel with all these endings that this lunar eclipse is bringing into our energy. And after all, these changes that occur during eclipses are often permanent changes in our lives, and we feel these energies of the eclipse basically continuing for up to 6 months afterwards, as we sort of reintegrate and realign ourselves to these energies. So once again, there is an encouragement to release, to surrender in order to bring into our life something that you truly desire, not ego desire, truly heart-centered desire. And it's almost like we are often offering a gateway or a portal to step through the direction that we're heading into. There's a sort of a bit of give and take happening. And Marty McCord mentions that this eclipse is one of 4 Virgo eclipses that we will be going through, experiencing between now and February 2027. So there is an emphasis on the Virgo areas in your life, especially looking at maybe what is not quite working, what you need to change or improve in order to be in greater harmony, especially with these higher aspects of yourself, learning how to sort of surrender to the divine flow of things, and most importantly, being gentle on yourself. So if you are in Adelaide, full moon gathering will be taking place on Thursday, the evening before the lunar eclipse, down at Largs Bay Beach. We'll be meeting around about 7:30 down at foreshore, because it's all about releasing again. If you can bring a biodegradable offering of some kind, a shell, feather, stone, crystal that will be throwing into the water's edge. More information will be found on mysticalsoulacademy.com under the moon, or also on Temple of the Dark Moon page under the full moon gatherings as well. And while I'm here, I'll just mention very briefly my next presentation through the College of Psychic Studies in London. This will be taking place on Sunday, the 6th of April, so we've got a little time yet, and it's entitled Abydos, Star Portals and the Resurrection of Osiris. So we'll be exploring the mysteries of this temple, probably one of the greatest pilgrim sites in all of ancient Egypt, looking at the myth around the resurrection of Osiris, visiting the mysterious Stellium, which is located behind the temple, which is often believed to be much older than the current temple built at Abydos today, which is attributed to Seti I. And there'll also be a guided meditation out to the star portals. Because this event will be run on London time. If the time zones don't work out for you, everybody who registers will also be given access to the recording, because it is recorded. So I'll put the link below for that, along with the links to Pam Gregory and Molly McCord, because they go into more details in their own updates on this lunar eclipse. So breathe. Changes are happening. It's time really to let go, to be a little bit more sort of, I think, take more responsibility. We're seeing the consequence of our actions, or as I said, our inactions. Don't beat ourselves up. Use this opportunity with Virgo to see what we can now do to amend, rectify, and fine twig our direction that we're heading into. And as always, blessings and take care.